Welcome to Inexpensive Arms. My name's Steve. Today we're going to be testing a 16-inch 5.56 barrel that is a 1 in 7 twist, government profile, mid-length gas system, and it is nitride treated. Now, we actually don't know who the manufacturer of this barrel is. It was purchased through Peacegeek.net. Now, Peacegeek has a habit of blowing out old stock or buying up inventory from other manufacturers and then selling it as unbranded, and typically you can get a lot for your money. So I gave this one a chance. Now again, as with any other products that I test, I don't have any affiliation with the vendor or the manufacturer. I don't even know who the manufacturer is. This is just something that I wanted to try. So without any further ado, let's take a look at some groups. Again, as always, all groups were shot at a distance of 100 yards. It was from a concrete bench. However, this was a new lower to me, and the trigger broke just a little bit differently than the one on my ARs typically do. So because of that, I could have tightened up the groups quite a bit. There's a couple times I was surprised or it broke a little bit later than I was anticipating, and I ended up pulling some shots. So bear with me, and I'll show you what we got. So first up, I tested 73 grain Hornady match and was not terribly impressed with that. Shot about a 2.4 inch group. It is interesting to note, though, that I didn't know exactly where the trigger was going to break for the first group. After that, 75 grain PPU match. Shot a little bit better. I was getting used to the trigger a little bit more. Then we went to 69 grain PPU match, and that shot just under 1.5 inch group. And again, I could have tightened a lot of these groups up quite a bit. After that, I switched up to the 77 grain IMI Razor Core, and I broke my first SubMOA group, and that just shot incredibly well. And again, I felt like I could have tightened that up even a little bit more. The 69 grain was not as tight. Now, it was a windy day, and I did have the signs flopping around a little bit, and my target stand actually broke a couple times. So this is some Federal 64 grain soft points, about a 2.5 inch group. So next up we had IMI 62 grain light armor penetrating ammo. That shot 2.3 inches, and that's about par for course on that. IMI 55 grain 1.3 inches, and I was actually relatively impressed with that ammunition. It shot pretty well overall. Again, I was the limiting factor here. Wolf Gold, 55 grain Wolf Gold, 3.8 inches. I have no idea what happened here. It was all over the place. I think I've got a couple of bad lots of Wolf, but I stocked up a couple years ago on it, so I got to shoot my way through it. 55 grain, this is the Hornady Frontier loads, 2.5 inches or 2.4 inches. That last shot I definitely pulled myself, but including it in there, otherwise it would have been about 1 inch group. 55 grain Tula steel cased ammo, 2.8 inches. That's honestly about as much as you can hope for out of that steel cased ammo. I'm pretty happy with that. And then lastly, I rounded it out with some 55 grain American Eagle. This is just the bulk blasting ammo, 2.6 inches. All right, so final thoughts and conclusions. I really like this barrel. I think it's capable of a lot better accuracy than I'm showing you right now. And I base that on the fact that I was using a complete upper and lower that I put together for a guy I work with. He provided the lower. The triggers breaks a little bit differently than any of the ones on my ARs, and so as a result, I was anticipating the trigger breaking at certain points when it didn't, and that affected accuracy that you see here. When I really slowed down and concentrated, as you see with the Razor Core 77, it's definitely capable of sub-MOA accuracy. And the one thing that really impressed me about this was just how smooth the gas system was on this. Now, I've built ARs with rifle length and mid-length gas systems before. This is not my first rodeo with that, but let me tell you, I was just super impressed by how smooth shooting this was. I don't think I've ever shot an AR-15 that shot as lightly as this, and just perfect consistency. I did a mag dump right before I shot for any groups just to test function. I did 30 round mag dump. It fired perfectly and extracted perfectly, and when I looked for the brass, it was all sitting in one neat little pile about 4 feet away from where I was. And I'm telling you, this thing just ran like a sewing machine. Now, when I actually sat down at the bench to do some groups, I ran into the problem that the wind was blowing a little bit. My target stands actually got broken, so I ended up having to stick the target directly into the ground, the target post directly into the ground, and just kind of pushing them down. They were still waving around a little bit, and so that may have affected some of this. Most of it, though, was on me. I just was anticipating the trigger breaking at certain points when it didn't, and that's what affected some of those groups. But like I said, when I really bore down, really concentrated, you can see the kind of accuracy that this barrel is capable of. All right, so would I recommend this barrel? Yes, I would, with some caveats. One, you have to be aware that it doesn't come with any warranty, implied or otherwise. Two, you don't actually know who the manufacturer is, although we can make some pretty good guesses. But there is an NDA that Peacegeek has, so they won't actually tell you who made this. Lastly, it is about twice as expensive as any of the barrels that I've tested on this channel thus far, but I ended up paying $118 shipped to my doorstep. That's still a relatively good price for a very good barrel. And you need to keep in mind that this barrel does have one of the smoothest, it's just one of the smoothest shooting barrels I've ever shot. And I think if you buy this, you're going to be happy with what you got. Thanks for watching, guys. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. And I'm going to try and get a couple more barrels tested here in the next month or so. I just renewed my range membership, and I'll have a little bit of extra time in the coming weeks. So have fun building, guys, and remember, just because it's inexpensive doesn't mean it's cheap.